Hello, my name is Cherie Harris, and this is my oral case study over Heidi Roizen. Before I start, I just want to give you a little bit of background about Roizen herself. She grew up in Silicon Valley. After graduating high school, she went on to Stanford to study creative writing. At Stanford, Roizen lost her fiance, and at this point, this is where you really get to see her as a selfless giver, because she was so focused on her fiance and his needs that she lost sight of pursuing her own interests and goals. After this devastating loss, Roizen made some life-changing decisions that led her to finish Stanford 2 semesters early. Following her interest in learning about technology, she uses a contact she has at Tandem to start editing the company's newsletters. Now let's get started on the case study questions. What are the strengths of Roizen's network across the different stages of her career? And discuss concepts from reading that apply to Roizen and how those concepts influence power, influence, and network success. At Tandem, she uses her network skills to land the job. She has a friend that has the hiring woman's phone number. She makes the phone call. She gets the job because they hit it off. Now, some people might see this as her being a taker. I, however, don't. I see this as her using the 3 unique advantages to networks: access to different information, access to diverse skill sets, and power. Being the editor at Tandem led her to be able to sit in monthly management meetings, which allowed her to make more connections, building up her network even more, and even meeting the CEO, who later wrote a letter of recommendation for graduate school. After graduate school, she went on to work for her brother at TeamMakers, a spreadsheet software programming company. While not wanting to go into debt and only use the capital to be within the retail channel, Roizen started to go out and build relationships with members of the press so that they would ultimately review the products and publish them in their publications. While building the relationships with the press, she also started to join other groups that were technology oriented, one of those being SBA, which she ultimately became the president of. This allowed her to give her time, feedback, and build more network. During the next couple of years, TeamMakers began to publish software programs for companies such as Apple and PC. Roizen and her colleague decided to buy out her brother's part of the company whenever he became uncomfortable with how the company was heading. Roizen and her colleague ended up selling to Dulex Corporation in 1994. Roizen stayed as CEO for the next 2 years, however. Roizen started working for Apple as Vice President of Worldwide Developer Relations in 1996. This position only lasted a year, however. But in this year, Roizen was able to use her network to repair a bitter relationship with CEO of Apple and her dear friend Bill Gates, CEO of Microsoft, along with relationships of 12,000 external software developers. During this time, Roizen extended herself as a selfless giver and ultimately became burnt out and left the company because she was discouraged due to technical and political issues with Apple. This led her into a mentor capitalist position in which she helped companies in their early stage. In this position, Roizen was able to be a giver in the things she enjoyed. She got to use her network to help friends find new careers, and that was probably one of her greatest assets. A friend of hers actually once said, "While other people use networks to build businesses, Heidi's business is networking." Though Roizen enjoyed her position, she lacked financial weight that startup companies needed. She missed teamwork, and she wasn't getting enough exposure to the internet sector her interests lie. This led her to join SoftBank Venture Capital. Over her career at SoftBank Venture Capital, she served on many boards, still mentoring a management team. Roizen would spend her day looking at new investments and working with companies already within SoftBank's portfolio. During this time, you really get to see Roizen as a giver. She provided feedback to everyone that applied for investments, even the ones she rejected, because you never know where people will end up in the future. She also opened her house to many people during this time and parties while SoftBank's new office was still under construction, taking even more responsibility within the company. Throughout her career, you can see that she's a giver, and at times a selfless giver. Sorry. Her ability to build a network is impeccable, to say the least. I believe her power of persuasion helped build the network so well. People liked her. She was outgoing. She had a sense of hypocrisy around her. She was kind and honest to people around her. She was very consistent in everything she did. All of these things, her power of persuasion, led her to have authority over others, which led to her success and their success. Heidi Roizen is an admirable woman to look up to. This is my oral case study. I hope you enjoyed it.